your businesses during these extraordinary times. If you've been with us for the last 4 sessions, you'll note that we have at times been in the studio. Last week we were doing this from home. This week we received an exemption in order to come back to the studio and do a proper program for you. These are extraordinary times, and many are describing this in the media as a once-in-a-century event, something that is disrupting our daily lives and our business practices. And it's something that we're all going through together. We're having to be more creative and innovative in everything from how we school our kids to how we get our groceries, and yes, how we do our work. And that's what we're doing with this series of webinars for you. And more broadly with PruExpert and the work we're doing to reinvent training for Prudential. As we go through this experience together, my hope for all of us is that we uphold that Prudential spirit, the distinctly Prudential identity, where we're ambitious and we think big and dream bigger, where we're curious, we're humble and open to learning and doing things in new and different ways. We're empathetic. We take care of our customers. We treat each other well and with respect. And that applies to all of the humans that we come across during these interesting times. That we're courageous, that we're willing to take bold and decisive action and to try things that are new and different and sometimes scary. And finally, that we're nimble. We're quick on our feet and we're resilient when we get knocked down. And for me, that's one that has always characterized my experiences with you. This idea of the amazing grit, determination, and resilience that we see in a Prudential agent. And that's something that inspires me and keeps me going to work so hard for all of you, to bring these sessions and more to you to help you become the most confident, noblest version of yourself. I'm not the only one working hard. I'm joined again by Ben Lowe, who's also been working hard. He's familiar to many of you. Ben, welcome back.
Thanks for having me again, Matt.
You all know Ben as he's a trainer and a coach who helps agency leaders recruit millennials using social media. And Ben, this is our 4th show. You've done 4 of the trainings here, and we're going to give you a break, but it's not a real break.
Yeah.
Tell us what you'll be doing during the break.
So this gives me a perfect opportunity to do a bit of promotional spiel for what's going to happen like next week. So if you don't mind me,
yeah, go ahead.
我们各位线上的朋友，大家早上好。不管你是来自香港、中国，甚至是来自新加坡、大马、印尼、菲律宾，只要习惯用中文听话绘画还有听课的朋友，我们有一个好消息，因为我们下周宝成与我会在周三同样的时间开启我们第一堂中文班。中文班的课程跟我们的英文班是相似的，我们会教大家如何提高客户与客户提高温度，然后2有效的邀请客户上线，然后3分享一下策略性还有话术的训练。我们也有一个很特别的一个嘉宾，他的名字叫甘祖豪，是马来西亚 Team PME 最年轻的400万组织的主管，他会在线上分享我们的销售心得，还有线上营销的整个过程。如果大家有兴趣一起提高业绩、一起学习的话，我们周3早上见。Now, how was that?
Wow, that sounds great and super impressive.
Well, I spent like 3 hours practicing that.
Yes, and I think that part that's worth noting when we say working hard. You have been practicing.
Totally.
You even have a coach yourself.
Yeah, so to those of you who are watching, I do have a Mandarin coach considering that I'm a Chinese in Singapore. I studied Chinese for goodness sake till 16 years old, but I pretty much shelved it. So now it's like getting back to track again.
Yeah, we'll be glad to benefit from these sessions that are coming up.
I do hope so.
For those who will benefit from the Mandarin sessions.
Yep.
As always, for today, we have to get started by reminding you of some of the features of Zoom. There are just a few to note. The first is the chat feature, which allows you to get in touch with us if you have any IT issues or need technical support. And then the Q&A button, which allows you to chat with us if you have questions or you want to send a message to Ben or I or our guest. To get started today, we have a couple of polls for you. Now, the polls are important. This is our chance to hear directly from you, to hear from the ground across all of our countries, what is going on, what challenges you are facing, so that we can take that feedback directly back to our leadership in Hong Kong to design additional programs, tools, and resources for you. So let's launch the first poll.
Yep.
Let's see if it comes live here. And the question that we'll be asking is, after you've attended these webinars, maybe you've just done one, maybe you've been with us for all 4 now, tell us what you've done. Have you practiced the techniques and lessons learned, generated new connections through social media, presented virtual opportunities to potential prospects? Or maybe you haven't started. If you haven't started, please tell us why using the Q&A box. So Ben, what do you think?
I think, to be fair, we do have quite a number of people who are joining us at different parts of this entire life journey, right? So some of them may not have had the benefit of doubt to go through the past sessions. But I'm pretty hopeful for those of us who've been joining for the first, second, or third, or even the fourth session for some of them, they pretty much have taken action, knowing Prudential, for whom our consultants are.
Yeah. And for those who have joined us on multiple sessions, they know we've been talking about being ambitious.
Yeah,
And ambitious is thinking big, dreaming bigger, and
Yeah.
working hard.
totally.
So I suspect that we're going to see some good results here.
Yep.
Let's close the poll and see what we've got. Okay, almost half of you have practiced the techniques.
Wonderful.
That's fantastic. Almost 40% of you have generated new connections using social media. And a third of you have gone all the way to presenting opportunities to potential prospects.
So, yeah.
Only 10% haven't started. And
Sounds like it's pretty good as a report card. I think I could keep my job for the next few
I
months
think
to
so.
come.
Absolutely. This is fantastic. Thank you guys. And congratulations on all of your hard work. We'll hear more from those who haven't started, the 10% who haven't started. Please let us know why in the Q&A box, because if there's something that we can do to help you, we want to know that. Yep, and we'll cover that at the end of the program. Let's launch the second poll, if we can. The second poll is, we want to hear what challenges you are facing using social media. Is it developing content to share, reaching out to your networks and building new connections, or how to best market yourself? Again, it might be something else, other, and if so, please let us know why in the Q&A box. Ben, what do you think?
I think before I share why we do, before I share about my responses, I think it's really important that all these surveys are really meant for us to really create and curate better sort of solutions. I think all those are pretty vast topics. I'm interested to see what's going to transpire.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's right. For this one, I think it's will just inform future sessions.
Yeah.
So let's close the poll and see what you're telling us.
Yep.
Okay, so it looks like it's evenly split for all of them. A third, it's developing content.
Yep.
A third is reaching out to new connections, and a third is how to best market myself. And so in our future programming, we will touch equally then on all three of these and continue to build your confidence.
Totally.
Ben, what are you talking about this week?
This week, I'm talking about how do we develop our sales expertise as well as momentum. So when we talk about expertise, it's really about how we elevate our positioning in the market. And of course, in my usual fashion, I'm being flanked with one of the very, very respected consultants that I know in the space and in Prudential Singapore. She's going to be talking to us on how do we elevate our expertise to go to market. And of course, the second part, which is a bit more broad-based as approach, how do we keep ourselves going through this crisis and thriving through this crisis?
Great. Well, good luck, Ben. Thank you. I'll see you in about an hour.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Right. So to those of you who are tuning in once again, a very warm welcome. I would have about 40 minutes of teaching before I bring on my next guest. And I just want to say, to set a bit of context, on the screen, you see two words, which are expertise as well as momentum. I talked to you a bit about expertise, and I alluded to the fact that if you're not an expert, you'll not be seen, respected, trusted, or even liked, right? And we talk so much on social media, going on e-appointments. I hope the expertise component will get you thinking that it cannot be a commodity, right? In Singapore, for example, there are 5,000 consultants. What makes someone shine? What makes someone value? And what makes someone acknowledged as the trusted consultant? I'd love you to hear it from two perspectives, right? One perspective is our guest this morning, and she'll be sharing with you her entire journey, hitting 6 times COT and being on track for her 7th COT and 7th President's Club. On the other hand, I took on a sprint coaching project with not a student, but with a friend, and she's from Malaysia. Her name is Yvonne. I want to share with you the results that we've gotten and how in one day of posting, she secured 15 new leads, cold market from business owners, as well as 16 new opportunities to reconnect with her existing client base, all through demonstration of expertise. So without further ado, I want to jump straight into how I started. If you recall, I started out first session about 4 weeks ago talking about how this crisis totally caught us off guard. And as you see on the screen, this crisis happened to me, happened to all of us. We were feeling anxious, upset, frustrated, lost, and a denial. And I think all those emotions are very, very palpable. Palpable in the sense that we can feel it. It is part of us. And I don't know about you, but even an introvert myself, over the past week, I've done close to 24 to about 30 calls. I average about 4 to 6 calls a day. And as an introvert, I thought that would be like, my paradise, like working from home and just closing deals, training regionally. I felt exhausted as well. So there's a range and a roller coaster of emotions. But I want to share with you this quick curve to illustrate this whole phenomena that's going on. And to our friends who are new, rest assured I'll be going through my professional introduction as well. So the first thing is I want to share this Kubler-Ross change curve. Kubler-Ross is actually the short form of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She is a Swiss-American psychologist that works with people who are in near-death scenarios. Now, I'm not suggesting that we're all near-death, right? We are healthy, we're happy. You're in your homes with your green bird, your children, wherever, animals or children who are happily with you. But why am I sharing with you this curve? I think the value of knowing this curve is knowing where are you at in terms of your journey. Right? I'm going to talk about expertise later, but let's cover momentum first. I think the thing is, if we want to have momentum for the long run, we need to take pauses as well. We need to take running breaks. Right? And I really believe in this, that sometimes you need to stop, you need to pause for you to run faster and run harder. And the key thing here is knowing when to stop. Right? And if you look at this curve, this is basically illustrating how the entire coronavirus came about. The first part is shock, right? When, for example, in as early as January 1st, in Wuhan in China, the animal markets were closed. People were shocked, right? And there was this part where shock goes towards denial. People were shocked that this happened to China, but the denial phase came about, especially in the West, right? US and Europe had the entire 1 month to preempt what was going to happen, but they were telling themselves, nah, this is not going to happen to me. This happened to China. This is Asia. Now look what happened to US and Europe. And moving down, that's where frustration builds in, right? We start to hoard. We start to go to the supermarkets. We start to buy toilet rolls. I don't know if you did. I didn't. I have Apple at home, right? But the last phase in the doldrums is what we call the depression phase. I want to say that depression is a very real thing. I lost a very dear friend of mine. He's a primary school friend of my primary school friend. We reconnected after 15 years. A week later, I was actually at his funeral. Now, what happened was that he was down with depression. He was a very young, very, very inspiring entrepreneur, but he had a lot of investors putting money into his company. He was so fearful of not meeting the expectations. So as you can imagine, in his world, he was really riddled with a lot of doubt, a lot of challenge, a lot of concerns, and he ended his life by committing suicide. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to happen to anyone, everyone, and I hope it will never, ever happen to you. But I want to say that depression is a real case. And that is why I want to start off first with this larger frame in mind. And notice after the depression phase, the doldrums, the bottom of the curve, is where people start to pick themselves up. And what we've been doing, and if you see this Pro Expert series, is that we basically try to shortcut the denial, the frustration, and the depression phase by telling you guys that, hey, there is time, obviously, to be upset about the situation, but let's do something proactive. There is a time to say, hey, our clients will not talk to us, but how about we try something new? The 10 ways of warming up, the ways that Joy suggested, the ways that Candice have sort of proposed to us. We wanted to take you on the upswing where we start to experiment with new things, right? When we experiment, we start to realize things work. Like, for example, this morning, I had Miliana, one of the top leaders from Indonesia. She just texted me and said, hey, whatever you shared about the webinar, inviting guests, she invited 37 guests on a 50 people webinar. She was so excited at trying out new technologies, and that's where decision comes in, right? Deciding that, hey, there can be a new solution out there. And then post the crisis, that's where we integrate. And I want you to look forward to integration is that even after the crisis, don't let this whole electronic thing die out, right? You need to integrate it to a larger lifestyle in the way you do your business, because this is how the business is progressing. And I want to sort of like say on the right-hand side, these are the different phases and what should be the focus, but I don't want to delve too much into that. So if you ask me, I think what we have been designing as an experience, as a series, is really around these 3 triangles, right? The first triangle is about mindset. And, we talk about this crisis happened to me. And if you still recall what I've been saying, this crisis should be happening for you, right? Not just happening to you, but happening for you. And then when you have empowered space and choice, you make the right decisions. And this is all about having the clarity of mind, being clear, being focused, and putting in good stuff into your mind each and every week. It doesn't have to be pure expert, but I want you to be very aware of what you're consuming. For example, in this period, I've gone as far as Facebook. Anyone who's really, really negative, complaining about the government, saying this and that, I've even unfriended them. Why? Because you don't want to put negative energies into your space. It affects you. It gnaws on you. It eats you. The second thing I want to cover is this part on activity. We talked to you that don't let your activity go to a 0, right? That's the worst thing that could happen. You should at least touch base with your client, reach out to them, send them a care package, sing them a song, leave them a voice memo, do whatever works, right? Because at the end of the day, the clients are yours, right? I have my own clients, corporate clients as well. I know what makes them tick. I know which clients like wine, which client goes to golf, which clients goes for mountain trekking and diving, right? So this is how I warm things up with them. It needs to be subjective. Now, what is the last part, you may be wondering? I want to share with you a little video, and this video is on self-care. I think self-care is such an important but understated topic, and could I have the team to prepare the video? As you watch this video, I want you to also give yourself a bit of time to unwind. Right? We've been running this for 4 weeks. Even I feel quite exhausted sometimes. So anytime when the video is ready, we have it up on play. So now that you've watched this video, I want you to do this exercise with me, but it's not for me, but it's for you, right? I'd like you to just maybe take 20 to 25 seconds, just pause, right? And this is the time whereby I'd like you to look away from the screen, not to the screen. Away from the screen, but make sure you still can hear me. I want you to look around your room right now, right? Are there people in your room? Are there animals in your room, like birds, your cat, your dog? I want you to ask yourself, what can you be thankful for? Right? What can you treasure? What can you cherish? Right? Are you happy that your fans and air cons are working? Do you have a hot plate of toast in front of you? Are you happy that today you woke up on the right side of the bed? You're healthy, you're energized, you're feeling well. Because there could be 101 reasons why you would not be feeling otherwise. There are people stuck in dormitories, being hungry, not having any food, shelter, or warm water to drink and eat, right? And as you tune your angle to the screen again, I want to say that taking care of yourself is so important, right? And taking care of yourself is akin to really making sure that your energies get refueled. And this is the reason why, if you've been checking out Facebook, I posted this at about 9-10 p.m. I was really, really surprised, right? Erin has been a close friend of mine, and I don't do this kind of open endorsements unless I really believe. Erin has been supporting me in terms of my personal journey as well. And she's a certified mindfulness practitioner, and she's going to run a one-off special session tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. If you can, really, really wake up for it, because at the end of 1 hour, I will assure you that you'll be a lot stabler, your mind will be calmer, and your mind will be a lot more sort of like a recharge to handle the demands and the challenges that comes to your life, right? And if you haven't been in our group, you please scan and join our group, because this session will be ran via Facebook Live in our group. So to round off this entire experience, I believe there are 3 things that we totally need to hold on to build and to ensure that we thrive. 1, the mindset, the strength, the clarity, knowing what to do, what not to do even, right? The second thing, the activity as a sales consultant. You need to also ask yourself, what are the things that you want to measure yourself on? Is it the number of outreach message? And I know certain agencies have really used the 3-step system, which is warm up, open up, and set up. And the third one would be in terms of self-care. Are you taking care of yourself? So like I mentioned to our friends who are new to this program, you may or may not have known me, but my name is Ben, and I made it my mission to help the leaders of today engage the leaders of tomorrow. It sounds like a big thing, but this is my one-page introduction. You may take a few seconds to go through this, but I usually say these 2 slides are the least important. I don't want you to focus on me, right? I'm the least important. You should focus on the message. And this is when you focus on the message, this is what transpires. This is a very cute example, a Malaysian student. She's somewhat senior, and when she started, she didn't believe that this e-appointment thing could work, and could work for her, more importantly. But over time, she finally submitted 2 RSO, remote sales orders for her clients' children, medical card, and TMCC. Now, this client sort of cooked her way through and got the attention of a blog post or magazine, and now they are wanting to interview her to say, hey, how do you cook all those like chili crabs or fried crabs? And on top of that, gave her an opportunity to introduce herself in Sabah to the whole of that state in Malaysia, right? This one is the one that I'm really, really excited, but I think it needs a bit of nurturing from the Philippines. His name starts with J. And Jay reached out to me evening, and then he said, hey, Ben, I'm so excited. I started sharing about stories. One of my friends who's an entrepreneur reached out to me, and he said that he wanted to entrust me to take care of the 60 individuals in his company to do financial planning, right? So in local or industry terms, this is what we call as a jumbo policy. This is my Filipino student. She was very, very successful as using cold market approach. I've been coaching her using her Facebook and video, and she secured 5 people via Zoom. And of course, closing up in Singapore, I want to say that I'm not the only provider of knowledge. Every week, I take so much effort. In fact, everyone takes a lot of effort to bring on the excellent guests that you're learning from today as well. And this friend of ours managed to close 2 appointments on Zoom after listening to Joyce's sharing. So today we're going to do a bit of poll with us, but the whole intent of the poll is to make sure that we get a collective, consolidated information so we can pass it on to regional. So I want to ask you the first question as you run off the poll and you see the poll responses on your screen right now. What is still your biggest concern about using virtual face-to-face, right? So take some time to respond so that we could go through. The options are 1, whether about using technology, video technology, and what may go wrong, right? Technical issues like broadband in Singapore, our green telco provider, and I wouldn't name it, went down. 2, would it be about having a strong impression, right? How do you make sure that your voice goes through, your energy, your personality goes through? Third thing, are you comfortable? No concerns at all. Or if you have other concerns, please type them into the Q&A box. Now, let's close the poll and let's take a look at the responses. Again, all these responses will allow us to even help you on the local level, right? So we have the majority of you saying that the biggest concern is about making strong impression through non-face-to-face, non-FT interaction. And I would say, if those are your concerns, please do revise Joyce's lesson. We will be uploading a 20 do's and don'ts from her so that you can continue to learn. Now let's fire up the second poll, which is a follow-on from the first poll. And the second poll question would be, how do I feel about using virtual face-to-face? Right? Because we don't want to assume that you like this, right? Even for me as an introvert, I've been facing cameras all day long. 24 calls last week. I feel like killing myself and killing my wife and killing everyone. There's this term called cabin fever, which is what psychologists describe. So can we take a look? 3 options are, I like it. 2, strange at first, but it gets easier. Or third thing, still feeling unnatural. Like I can't talk to a screen. And I want you to realize that I'm doing this as well on set. There are 4 mega cameras facing me. And in my usual way of speaking to crowds, 5,000, 10,000, I have people to say, hey, raise up your hands. I have feedback. It is common. You are not alone. So let's have the results from the poll, right? So pretty excited to see, okay, the biggest response comes from strange at first, but it becomes more easy as I had more interaction. There are 2 ways you can look at it. 1, it definitely happens and it becomes better over time. And then 2, like what I've alluded to, when I was in China last year, I totally see the future of e-selling, e-recruitment. And the way the business is structured, there will come a time, hopefully in our lifetime, and I believe in our lifetime, where a lot of the events will be electronic. right? Even in my industry as a professional speaker, I can almost entertain a talk that will be a hologram projected to Poland, projected to Europe, and all they see is a hologram image. Why? Because that's really how the whole industry is shaping. So I want you to realize that we have to learn the tools and be prepared for the future, right? So in the same usual fashion, please DM me your actions, your results. I'm still collecting that. And once we prepare a special video, and it's a training video of at least 5 to 7 minutes on how to be comfortable, confident, and effective with the video camera, I'll be sending it to you. I want to talk to you today about our topic proper, right? Talking about business expertise, it is not just enough for you to say you're expert, right? Everyone out there would say that you're an expert, right? Sorry. Everyone out there would say that they are an expert, but who makes the judge, right? If you recall, I started out sharing on session number 2, talking about social media. And we talk about entertainment, education, and engagement, right? So why do we buy experts, for example? There are experts A, expert B, expert C. But maybe from the broad base, from the kind of entertainment content that they put out, we want to work someone who is a bit more, for example, focused. We want an expert who is a bit more warm. We want an expert who is a bit more like focusing on camaraderie, community, right? So those are broad-based content that allows people to know us, to like us. But we went to the second base, which is to educate. And we talked about webinars last week. And again, Miliana from Indonesia, she executed a 50 people webinar, and she's so excited to see, hey, this could be the future. Costs are going lower, impact is going higher. And these are the value and merits if you do it well. And then last but not least, engagement. If you want people to see you as the choice consultant, you've got to put up proof. You've got to give them evidence that people are choosing. But I want to say that all this are more from the input perspective, right? Input meaning how you should look at the entire process in terms of content. But I want to say that there's also from the output perspective of content marketing, right? Output meaning these are what the things appear on your own social media. In very simple terms, everything you see on social is going to be dropping into one of these 4 buckets. It could be either plain text, photos or images, audio, video, and last but not least, live stream. So for example, plain text, there are so many things. And as I go through all this, I will not spend time to go through because I do not have enough time. But I want you to imagine that social media is a very, very dynamic and very fluid place, right? There is no like one product fits all. There is no like one output works for everyone. You got to really study, and later I'll end the segment with a 5-part structure for you to have clarity on what are the things you should do. And for me, I think strategy is a very, very important word. I always tell my clients and my students that I'm working with you on strategy first before we go into execution. Strategy is knowing what you need to do, but I think for me, strategy is also about knowing what you should not do, right? What you should not do. Because if you do certain things, it actually hurts your brand, right? So not everyone should do TikTok video all the time. 1 or 2, maybe. And I see some consultants who always take it to the extreme, produce like 10, 20 TikTok videos in 1 week. You got to ask yourself, is that something you should be doing, or is that something you should not be doing? So in terms of plain text, there are quotations, storytelling posts, info guide, and white paper. All of these things are what you see on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn even, right? Instagram, because it's a photo image platform, is not that thriving. The second part are photos and images. Photos and images somewhat, coagulate with text because, a lot of photos can't exist alone. And we start to see, like, for example, carousel image, infographic, memes. Again, don't take any advice, even from me, to the extreme, right? If I say memes are good, don't just go out there and do like a gazillion memes. It doesn't work like that, right? There are ebooks, e-guides. And again, we are in the expertise column from the content perspective and the output perspective. All these things, if you do it well, will help you to build expertise and help you to proliferate, meaning to say expand, let more people see you. And this is what I did for my friend, Yvonne, right? The third thing are audio and video. And you start to see the list becomes longer. I have this menu of things that I can do as output for my student, and I see this all the time, but it's not about just tikam, as what we say in Malay, just play, but it's about strategizing, choosing the right one. As you can see, audios, videos, we talk about, for example, teaching video, storytelling video, a confession video, a rant video. Some of the content and things you see on the screen are a bit more medium to advanced level, so I would not suggest you try it if without a coach. It doesn't have to be me, but you need to find someone to work with you, right? And the last but not least are live stream, where we talk about webinars last week. Even webinars can be live or recorded, right? So we can see, like, for example, solo live sessions. We had a agent, Team PME, I believe it is at 17 in, she was doing her sing and the sing song. There is mukbang, where our Filipino student was talking and having food together as an internal experience. There's even BTS, but BTS trailing. And what does trailing means is basically following someone from a behind the scenes perspective. Now, I don't know if you feel confused, but I do sometimes, right? Like looking at this, like, then where do we start, right? Like, and that's the question I should ask you and ask everyone, right? You shouldn't attend a training, and it doesn't have to be my training, Prudential training. It could be a local training. Someone say, go out there and do podcasts. And then you do not think, and then you go out there and produce like 10, 20 series and podcasts, and then you get exhausted at the end of the year. And then you realize that one, nobody's watching your podcast or listening to your podcast. And then two, you did not get any ROI or results from your podcast, right? There needs to be a thinking process. So I'm going to share with you a case study, but again, don't focus on what I do, but focus on how we did it, right? Don't focus on what I do, what we did, but focus on how, right? And I think, again, as a consultant, you're watching this, right? Always ask yourself two questions. How are they doing this and how are they getting success? And two, how does that apply for me in my scenario, in my country, to my audience? That should be the right way. So for this purposes of this webinar training or this live training, I'll be talking solely on ebook because that was one of the live project I did. As you can see on the screen, I took a photo with Yvonne. Yvonne is one of the top 10 agents in Malaysia. Very, very vivacious character. In Mandarin, we call her a 90后, someone who was born after 1990s. I'm happy to say I'm close to her demographic, by the way, if you haven't realized. And when I met Yvonne, she was also speaking with me, and of course, our guest today, at the same event in Kuching, Malaysia. And we started connecting towards the MCO period, and I started to ask her, like, hey, how are things going? Have you been reaching out to your high-income clients, your business owners' clients? Because that's her usual clientele. The thing was, Yvonne was finding a bit of challenge to reach out to them because, again, if she reached out to them in an inappropriate or not effective manner, she only had that many chances. So she wanted to be precise and effective. So the first thing I knew and I understood was really not to just say, hey, do X, do Y, do Z. I asked her and I understood her, right? So one, knew that she was very plugged into a lot of SME networks, online and offline, right? Every time I see her IG stories or Instagram stories, she'll be in a Zoom chat with 400, 500, 300 business owners. And I say, hey, Yvonne, you must be learning something there, right? Like, otherwise you wouldn't be there, right? So how about you distill all this knowledge because it's going to be helpful stuff for the other businessmen in your country, right? The second thing I was also brainstorming with her would be, what would be the product, right? We talk about input, which is the entertainment, engagement, and education. But we need to think of the output, which is what is the baby you're going to give birth to at the end of this process. I started to brainstorm and say, hey, what would be a suitable product, a baby, to engage and open up conversations? It needs to be also time sensitive, relating to the situation. And you realize that we designed something around COVID-19. Last but not least, I wanted to make sure that she is comfortable. Whatever your strategy that you execute, whether from your coach or agency leader, you need to make sure that you can deliver. And what do I mean deliver? If she starts doing a video on business owner and telling them, how to manage the finances, being able to deliver is when the clients meet you, you better be able to summarize what you said online and be able to give more value. If you're giving a product online to talk about, for example, retirement planning, but you are 21 years old who have almost zero concept of retirement, that's going to be a challenge delivering. So I want to make sure that something in a comfort zone. The long and short of this was the product, the baby, right? So we produced together a SME survival tips, both in English and Mandarin version. And I want to say that, this is where I want to bring on the second video. A lot of agents, when they go to social media training from me or the other trainers in this space, is they have this very sort of like linear mindset, right? And as we play video, can we have the video, please? You'll start to realize that social media is not this.
Yes, bro. It's very easy. How, bro? Please tell me. Go to your account setting, deactivate your Facebook and go to work.
Right? Why do I play this video? A lot of people think that social media is that silver bullet, right? If you have listened to Candice's sharing 2 weeks ago, you learned that, she took 1.5 years before the leads started to come in. And I'm not saying that 1.5 years is the golden standard, okay? But all I want to say is that there needs a curve because online and offline are the same. Online, people at you, they'll observe you, they'll watch you, they'll see whether you're consistent. You say that you really care for people. do you only post one post and then that's all, and then hey, 3 months later you don't start posting and people don't know you, right? So there is always a curve. There is a process for people to know you, to like you, and then furthermore to trust you. So I want to say that to give you again opening and lifting up the view and understanding from the process. Like I started this whole entire sharing to say, just copy, but understand. How do we do it and how can it work for you? So I want to share with you this 3 simple process by which we create this. And potentially, if you want to go into the knowledge space, expertise space with a product in mind, you can also think of that. Sort of listen out to the important criteria. The first part is the creation. So when we created this ebook, I wanted her to make sure that we cover all the important ends. Not just on the aesthetics, whether it looks nice, it looks beautiful. I think those are important, right? But 2, it needs to be substantial. It needs to be value adding. When a business owner opens the ebook, you say, wow, these are things that I cannot get for myself, or these are new knowledge.
I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your souls. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight.
Testimonials, people who said that you're good. So you can't see it exactly, but on the right-hand side are testimonials of business owner clients who said that Yvonne helped them during these times and they had a sense of comfort. They sort of benefited through her consulting and her own teaching and guidance of them. Now, this is the first part of creation, which really ends up with what you see on the screen right here, right? Visuals are important. Making sure the products looks nice is important. If you put this on a simple A4 and you say, nah, right? Everyone will say, nah, right? You can't nah because they will nah, right? The key thing here is you need to give a product that they say, wow, has value. We all know the story. We've heard it in MDRT conventions, right? A can of a Coke in a mama store costs $1. A can of Coke in a Pizza Hut outlet costs maybe $3, $4. Now, a can of Coke in a upscale Shangri-La hotel could cost anywhere between 10 to 15 US dollars. What's the difference? It's not just the Coke, but it's the packaging, right? So these are all the different components that you need to look into. Whether you produce a video, a podcast, an online video, the edits, the aesthetics matter. But I say before we jump to aesthetics, ask yourself, what is the strategic value? What can people get from you that they may not be able to get from others? Or what can people get from you that is simpler, that is less complicated? And this is how I teach as well, right? I try to make the complicated back to the basics. Now, moving to the second part, even if you have the best Coke, if you have no people walking into your hotel, that defeats the point. And on the social media, what is important is about how you promote your product, right? So I asked Yvonne to just give me a simple example of how she would first put it on Facebook. And I want you to see, like, this is a sample opening, like a post to share about her product. And when I look at it, I say, Yvonne, this will not work, right? Because this is too meek, right? Meaning this is too weak. It doesn't even give any punch, right? If you have a good product, you must sell it and sell it convincingly. And if you see the words that I circled, hopefully, and if, right? Why do you have an if, right? So wordings, languaging matter. And I'm a very, very anal person when it comes to, for example, small things like this, right? I'll love for you, right? And I say, hey, Yvonne, let me work this around with you. And with my guidance, we created this, right? Tell me what you think. Again, it's very permission-based language. On social media, you need to almost believe that what you have on hand is worth in gold. We created this new entirely copy. Copy in marketing terms are really just the captions. So we started out with a headline, which is, Yvonne, I don't know if my business can last the next 3 months with MCO extension. Look at the headline. Look at how we use the emoji. Look at how the fonts are in a different color and size and shape and form. Why? Because when you're scrolling Facebook, your thumb is like this, right? You want to create thumb-stopping moments. And how do you create thumb-stopping moments? Good image, but most importantly, good text. When people stop the thumb, it's not the end of the game for you. you still got to make sure they read, right? So it starts off with a story. And even for me, as I review this, it's not the best story that we should be telling. We should go deep into the pain of your prospects. We should be talking about localized issues like the B40, the bottom of the 40 pyramid, right? And this is part 1 of the script. Moving into part 2, I know it's a bit long. Just take a screenshot if you need to. This is where, the whole communications come play. That she's designing this product as a gift to give back, right? And you notice the 3 bullet points. I basically tell them what it is, but I didn't tell them what is it exactly, right? I told them what it is, but I didn't tell them what it is exactly, right? So for example, how simple but strong internal management techniques can help your company outlast this COVID crisis. But from the reader's point of view, so what is this exactly? How is this, what is this simple and strong, right? So you want to create curiosity, you want to create intrigue, you want to create desire. And all these bullet points are engineered to create desire. And I want to share this gift, but on social media, to work with the Facebook algorithm, you need to boost up the engagement. And how you boost it up, you cannot expect that people will do it for you. You need to ask, you need to nurture, you need to engineer. You need to create all these conditions for you to happen, right? So long story short of this was the engagement scores, right? And as you can see, this post of hers, she was so excited. I recall Yvonne, when she was working with me, she took a screenshot of that, the first and then she said she couldn't believe that kind of engagement. Now, I think again, if you haven't realized, it's not so easy to copy. Right? If it's so easy to copy, I will lose my, right? So the whole post, a lot, 200 plus likes, about half of them were from comments from people and 68 shares. Now, this is not the end of the game, if you realize, because it's the big deal of having comments and shares. It just looks good for you, look good for your pocket. It doesn't look good for your prospecting schedule. It doesn't look good for your diary. It goes to the last part. We need to find a way to convert. What does conversion mean? It means from online to a chat, online to a call, online Facebook to saying, hey, you are of value, you give me expertise, I can trust you, right? So this was what happened. I basically worked with Yvonne on how do we do high-touch one-to-one invitations to Zoom. How do we handle objections? Because you can create an ebook that's very good, but people will still say, no, it's quite elementary, right? So we have like objection handling, second step. Again, the whole entire campaign perspective. First night, and this was the first night results, only 1 day of posting, she had new leads that clicked through, new leads that didn't click through. Didn't click through means send a response, haven't yet responded. But if I would say this simplistically, 21 new leads, most of them are qualified business owners, and 15 of them were existing base of her clients that she was already, recall at the start, I said Yvonne was a bit apprehensive. She didn't know how. She didn't know what's the best way to engage them. Now, 21 new leads, 15 opportunities to reconnect with the existing base. If you go on a paid marketing route, you're going to spend money, and even the money will not get you quality leads. Right? So all I'm saying is that expertise has its place. And you listen to our guest later on how she used expertise to win over high-income clients. And I want to put it out, a lot of people say that I want to serve high-income clients, Ben. But the thing is, you need to ask yourself, are you ready for the high-income clients? Because high-income clients, business owners, they'll have more sophisticated problems. They'll be talking to you like, say, do you understand my business? Do you understand taxation? Do you understand, for example, company law? Do you understand if I want to scale my business into Asia, what are the considerations? Do you know A, B, C, and D, right? So this is where I say agents or consultants, if you want to be better serving higher audience and higher income audience, you need to upgrade yourself. You need to work on yourself. You need to read books. And me, I have my own library, and every day I try to read maybe 15, 20 minutes to just feed my mind of knowledge. And I want to sort of like wrap up this final segment on social media to say that this is one problem in my industry. Right? This is one problem in my industry that happens to be also your industry, right? Which is a lot of advisors who always go to training programs, whether from Ben, otherwise, and say, hey, I want to get results and leads on social media, right? And then the coach, young, not so young, male, female, will say, let me fix you. Let me suggest to you, go build a podcast. Go do like an ebook. And even a caveat, I say this many times, ebook may not be for you. Ebook work for Yvonne, but may not work for you, right? They always come from, let me fix you, right? The key thing here is there is never a quick fix, right? My school of thought, I believe social media is not about connections, it's about connection, right? Social media is not about the number of connections you have, but it's about the connection you have. Right? And what do I mean by that? And the two distinctions. A lot of them say, 1,000 fans, 1 million fans. So what? Do you really want to go into a fan-based business? I have friends who are celebrities and they never even have enough time to sleep because they have to be replying to their fans. And when you don't reply to your fans, they post it on their social media, they're upset. Do you really want to play that game? Instead, what I always allude to is all about connection. That when you post something, do people know who you are? Do they see that you're consistent? Do they start to see that, hey, you're kind of different as an advisor from the 4,999 advisors in your country? So to sort of give you a big picture perspective, I've always been sharing this, but I think this is a golden opportunity to bring this up. Imagine there is a chair, right? And this chair has 5 legs to this. These are the 5 essential components to social media in my component. Right? I've been doing this for 12 years. I spent quite a bit of time to distill the complex into the simple, and I hope you appreciate this. But before this, why is having this concept important, right? You need to understand that social media is not a plug and play. It's not a insert your ATM card, get out the money kind of process. If it works, those are in the realm of paid advertising, and even paid advertising, return on advertising costs are going down. Ad costs are going up. Do you want to play that game, right? So to put it simple, there are 5 legs to this chair. The first leg are platforms, right? Platforms can be online platforms and offline platforms. You got to ask yourself, one, are your prospects even on the platform you are on, right? So for example, you could be on TikTok all day long, but you're targeting business owners. Business owners may or may not be on TikTok, right? So why are you spending so much time on TikTok itself, right? So the caveat is that if you have a TikTok video that you can send to them and say that, hey, I'm having fun, that builds up my character and personality, there's an exception, right? A lot of people neglect also offline platforms. Like for example, Eric Tew in Malaysia is very active in the Young Entrepreneurs Network Association in Penang, right? You can be plugged into JCI, Toastmasters, BNI, Engineers Association, Teachers Association. If you have a live offline, you will have a more interesting perspective online. The second part is about audience. You need to study them. You need to know where they are not. What do they like? Who do they follow? What kind of content do they consume? The third thing is about your brand. And this question is, who are you? Right? Who are you? And who are you not? Right? So for me, brand as a trainer, I'm like that. I wear this blue jacket, shirt, and jeans for the past 4 sessions. Except for the last session, I didn't wear pants. I wear shorts and my 5-star hotel slipper, right? I do this because I don't want to be colorful. I'm not a colorful, not a flamboyant person. That is my brand. Why? Because I don't want you to focus on me. I want you to focus on the message for you, right? I am the least important person in this equation. What is brand? If people recall you and think of your brand with 3 important words, what are they? Right? Fourth thing are content, which is the content input, 3 E's, and content output, as you see, text, images, video, and live stream. And last but not least, tech and traffic, right? Tech and traffic is one part which also takes me a lot of time to share. And if I share this just by one of each leg, I can deliver a whole day lesson, 5 full days lesson for you. I don't want to drown you, right? But tech and traffic goes as far as, I was coaching a student and she didn't know that, for example, the post on your Facebook has a privacy set. So certain posts, if you don't put it to global or open, people can't see your post, right? So there's so many small components running out there. So there we have it. Create, promote, convert. So again, be inspired by Yvonne, but don't just copy her results because that's not going to work. You need to know what works for you. I've blabbered on, I've talked so much. I want to share with you a very special friend. And I want to tell you that every week I really rack my mind and I'll say, who is the top person in mind that can share topic X? And who you see on the screen, her name is Jasmine. I first met Jasmine in Kuching, Malaysia, when I was speaking at a conference there. And when I first saw her, I was saying like, wow, this lady is vivacious. She's ultra successful. She's #1 in 5,000, yet she's so humble. I was so shocked because she said, Ben, I want to learn from you. What can I share with you, right? And that was her, right? That's her demeanor. And one thing I noticed about top producers is they never feel that they're too high or too successful to learn. A formal introduction, she's a 6-time COT, on track to be a 7-time COT, and her lifetime goal is actually to be a one of her near-term goal is to be a lifetime COT accolade holder. She's currently building her team, very, very inspiring, and she has so much strategies to share. From what I curated for her today, she's going to share about strategies on how do we thrive, how do we continue. And I hope this is the cherry on the cake, right? Because she's going to be sharing with you how she maintained her production. Production is scary. Let me just put it there. Okay, it's scary. Okay, so how do you have a mass market approach? But more so if you're targeting high-income clients, which I show you one case study. She's going to again unveil the curtain, walk you through to her room, her office, her mind, and I think that's the most valuable training that we can give you, right? Walking into the top producer's mind, right? Mass market approach, high-income approach. Enough of me talking. I'll leave the beautiful lady, and of course, very, very accomplished, very smart, and of course, very experienced in this field to take the seat. So now, let us introduce to you our very lovely Jasmine Teo, #1 consultant, 2019 amongst 5,000 from Prudential Singapore.
Hi, I'm Jasmine. Thank you so much. That was a really very nice introduction of me. I'm really flattered. I always tell Ben, this is only the beginning. I have so much to learn and so much to grow. I'm Jasmine Teo. I'm thankful to be representing Prudential Singapore as a top private wealth consultant of the year amongst 5,000 strong. I'm thankful to be given this chance by Datuk Jason Chua and my leader Eunice to give me amazing platform and lots of opportunities for my business to flourish. And this is me, and this is what I'm going to talk about. And this sentence sums up what I'm going to talk about. And that is, tough times don't define you. It refines you. This coronavirus pandemic has showed no mercy to the world. It has infected more than 2 million people and killed more than 100,000 of lives. This pandemic has affected our life in terms of our livelihood, in terms of our career. But I'm sad to say that it has taken lives from the people that we love. And if you are listening to this podcast and you have lost a loved one, I'm saddened and my heart goes out to you and your family. In this time, we are forced in a very unnatural way to be adapting to this digital world. And I must admit that for myself, I was really uncomfortable. When you would ask me to do a remote sale online, I was really reluctant. But how do I thrive in these tough times? I will now explain to you. A bit of the background about myself. I came from a humble Chinese-speaking family. My family has a noodle business. They are all self-employed. Time was pretty good at that time. And my parents, I remember back then, was earning about 10,000 Sing dollars a month, and that was pretty comfortable for us. But I guess that life was never a bed of roses. And at the age of 14 years old, my dad has went into gambling, and it actually spiraled down to a pile of gambling debts. I could remember my sister and I were living in fear as debtors were knocking on our doors. At that time, it was so much fear. We were so apprehensive. My mother had to raise us up single-handedly. And this is a time that till now, I find that I really wondered, how did I manage to go through that? But I guess I was never that kind of girl that would submit to fate. At the time, at age of 16 years old, when we are able to work in Singapore, I started doing lots of part-time jobs. I could be teaching 10 students at one go. At the same time, during my part-time hours, I'll be working in a deli, in a hotel, as a waitress. Didn't I know that this actually gave me a great communication skills and problem-solving skills later on. At the age of 18 years old, that was the time that I felt that my life actually went down to bottom. I still remember there was a sweet surprise that came into our letterbox, and that was a check. It was a check from Prudential of $20,000 maturity from Prudential. That was the first time I have encountered with this company, and I was in awe. I was amazed that how much this money can touch our life, and that amount of money, I felt that it is a gift from God. And how did it happen was that this young man actually went into my mother's ward when she just gave birth to me and pitched about this saving product that was only $50 a month. And at the time, can you imagine you're holding your child, and I'm a mother of 2. You can imagine when someone would have talked to you at that very moment of life, you would definitely say a yes. And I thank God that my mother actually continued the policy. And at the age of 18, it led to the fruits of labor materialized. So that was a time I find that during these tough times, so long we have a powerful mind and most importantly, a healthy body, we are able to overcome this situation. So this time, slow down, engage your clients again, talk to them, chat with them. Other than struggling with this pandemic, are they facing any other issues, any family disputes? Are they having a hard time with their children? Talk to them, pray for them, even lend a helping hand to them. Some example is when I went to my clients before the circuit breaker in Singapore, I would do a welfare pack for them to put simple things like vitamins, masks, sanitizer. And for some of my clients, I actually even buy a pack of rice to them. And that was me. At the age of 21, I met the greatest mentor of my life, and he told me, come on in, envision yourself as a top financial consultant in the organization. As a young girl with zero connection, zero network, I wasn't sure, but I had so much faith, I had so much fire and passion in me that I know I could do it. And that was the life of my potential. I started the year and I was blessed to be the top rookie of the year, 10 rookie of the year, and followed by MDRT and followed by COT for the next 6 years. First 4 years of my life, I did a lot of physical prospecting. People who have known me, I've done almost zero warm market. I was doing purely cold market on the street, day to day. 12 hours a day, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. I would have a customer, at least one, before I could even go home. At the end of 4 years, I've accumulated 1,500 clients, of which many of them are high net worth and affluent clients. I pick my clients very, very carefully. When I was 21, I told myself I would only talk to people who are 40 and above, because I know that these are the people that went through life. Their career is probably at the peak, and they have children. There's so much to share with me. So that was the reason how I did well for the first 4 years, and subsequently, it spiraled down to good years after that. Let me talk about one of the years that was really tough for me, and that was the year 21-7. I was actually, I'm blessed to be carrying a pair of twins. Can you imagine? I was actually weighing 30 kg more than now. That was a period that I couldn't even walk properly. I couldn't even speak. Can you imagine? Talking was like a chore to me. So at the time, I told myself I could only meet up with one client a day. And during that meeting, if you are some clients, there are some clients who have met me in 21-7, I'll be carrying a plastic bag. I'll be carrying a plastic bag with me, and I'm vomiting and pitching at the same time. So my clients are really kind. They tell me, okay, whatever you want to introduce, let's do it now, let's sign, and then you can just please go back home to rest, okay? So thank God that I was still ambitious and I still had so much to prove, just that my body couldn't keep up. So this is the time that I'm feeling right now. There's so much we want to do. We really want to go out touching lives, but we are trapped at home. So how do we do it? I'll explain later. First part of my main presentation is talking about how do I service mass market. Okay? So some of the common pain that they talk about is job security. They are having issues with making sure they are promoted. The income is unstable. They're not able to keep up with their expenditures. So how do I convince them? There are two types of clients that I can manage to convince. The first type of them is that they have many dependents. People like that, they have so much love and care for the people around them. Naturally, with budget and the fact that they trust me, they will transact with me. These are the three important pointers. I'll talk to them that this is the period that you tell yourself, if there is a chance that you're able to make your children a high net worth individual, would you do it? And that's the beauty of term insurance. You might not do it for yourself, but you can do it for your dependents. You can do it for your next generation. And the budget, I could tell you, let me design something that is very comfortable to your affordability. Second type of people, actually people without dependence. They only have themselves. They are high achievers in their career. But I tell them, yes, you are very successful now. I admire you. But we should never take health for granted. Have you think about what if really, should COVID really happens to you? You could recover, you have the immune system, but in the eye of insurance, they may not be able to take you off fully standard. Because based on according to the doctors, our lungs will never function 100% like before. Secondly, during this time, like what Benjamin talked about, people who are in distress. I talk about mental illnesses being very prevalent in the world due to high stress, due to high expectations of yourself. I tell them to embrace it. Embrace if you have such issue. Talk to someone about it. But in the eye of insurance, even address a consultation at a mental institution, it will never be the same. There will be substandard. It might be exclusion. It might be decline. So this is the time, never take health for granted. This is one thing that I tell my clients, love yourself and everything falls into the line. Buying life insurance is not just a piece of paper. It's a form of self-love and self-worth. Okay, so let me show you. This are actually, these are preparation, my admin and my CRM. Both of them are still working very hard at home. I believe that this is a time that we should come together, strategize, and implement. Never stop any of your business process. In fact, enhance it. So they will prepare about at least 4 to 5 phone calls for me. Prior to that, I have their financial portfolio prepared. They will be able to view on their Zoom through share contents, and they're able to view what are their shortfall, what are the insurances that they already have, and I will talk to them about the gaps. How do we cover the gaps? And making sure that their budget is still within the amount that you should be spending on insurances. Some of the way that I pitch on critical illness, it's simple as what we have all learned. It is critical illness and early illness, 3 to 5 times of your annual income. Yes, you have the capability to work in a high corporate job, but what if you are down with illness? You may not have the strength, you may not have the mind power to continue what you are doing. Having 3 to 5 times of your annual income will be able to equip you with confidence. So this is very, very important. And for cancer to be declared cancer-free, it is a 5 years period. So we need to have that kind of replacement. Second, how do I plan for term insurance and legacy planning? It is for, let's say, example of my client before. This client is a father of 2. He is in his 30s, and his term coverage is only 300,000. How do I convince him to increase his coverage? And that is, I ask him about his monthly expenses, multiply by 12, and multiply by the years of the youngest child to financial independence. It works out to be about 20 years. And from there, plus their loans, property loans, any business loans, any secured, unsecured loans, and of course, projected tertiary education fees that will be in 20 years, inflation calculated, together with, last but not least, legacy and gifts that you want to give. This equation will be able to convince the client if they have, so long they have the comfortable budget. But at least you plant the needs in them that they will go to you naturally without you trying to push any products. And this is a retirement timeline that I show my clients. And you could see this is a real life example of my client. And it's with the help of a timeline, you could exactly see what are the short-term retirement plans in place through unit trust, through liquid cash. Second, mid-term, through endowments, through annuities, through SRS investment. Thirdly, through long-term annuities, CPF annuities. From there, I will tell them that it is essential to have at least $4,000 to $5,000 a month to have a comfortable life, just comfortable and essential. If anything more would be a bonus for your leisure and travel. Trust me, this is happening. And second big part of how do I engage my affluent clients. You can see, during this time, the start of start of January, we knew that this crisis is gonna be worse. It's gonna be widespread. At the time, I called up almost all my high net worth clients and affluent clients to tell them that this is the time that we need to do some switching to something on a lower risk, just in case the stock market were to plummet. And these are the examples of my clients. I took them to switch it to bonds, to corporate, to local bonds, to global bonds. And true enough, in the mid of March, market went downhill. The virus became widespread, and consumers' confidence went down. Supply chain is disrupted, and most of our blue chip in Singapore were down by 30%. And I told my clients, the worst is yet to come. We agree, don't you? But this is a time that we are not catching the lowest. We are catching the low period. And if you have the time horizon of 5 to 7 years, easily injection of funds through dollar cost averaging or even through lump sums periodically, you will see your money doubling during the recovery. I told my clients to prep themselves this amount of funds to be able to double their income, and that's when the rich become richer. You have to invest the right pot of money, and I will show them some promising equity funds to be able to derive to these goals. And these are some examples of customer servicing that I've been doing for my clients. As simple as during their birthday, as we are now not able to deliver the birthday cake to them, I could do delivery and call a nice birthday cake to their house to celebrate with their friends and, sorry, not friends, only your family members, immediate family members. And from there, I will also touch base with my clients. All along, I've been liaising my clients with different experts, such as medical experts, doctors, specialists. These are the people that I have to keep in touch with them to tell my clients that if you need, I'll be able to arrange for you from warding all the way to discharge, all the way to the claim process. It is a full-fledged service for my clients. Even during bad times for my clients, if there is some disputes and separation going on, I have my lawyers helping them as well. These are the expertise that our clients want. And for business owner, affluent clients, I introduce good accountants to be able to help them to plan their tax, corporate tax, to help them to reduce their taxable income. These are very important that during the low time, this is the time to give the care and love to our clients. But do it even before and do it after. Don't show extra care and love during this circuit breaker just because we have nothing to do. For me, this has to be consistent. From the start to enter this career, all the way to the end, you must have consistency in servicing. These are some examples of my clients. And this is a natural sales cycle, okay? From the start, every one of us know that prospecting is the first. Opening, pitching, closing, servicing and administrative, and then referrals, and last but not least, back to prospecting again. I ask my mentees, which part of the sales cycle is affected by COVID? If you look at it closely, you are probably affected by prospecting, but look at how bad is doing strategizing for clients. Your prospecting may be the best time online. It may affect our closing, but if you're well-versed in IT and you're savvy and you're willing to learn, it may be a breakthrough month for you. It has never stopped our opening, pitching, and most important, during our servicing and administrative. This is the time this is a test of loyalty for my employees. That if you give them the best now, never, never, ever cut their pay during this time, never, ever retrench them, because this is the time, if you give them your best, they will give you a lifetime of success. So what have you done to your staff and your business processes? Some learnings from Bill Gates, that this virus has reminded how important our family is. It's forcing everyone back to the family household to build our family unit again. Also, we must also not forget that the work that God wants us to do is not just our career. It is the very purpose of our life to bless, to inspire, to motivate, to empower the people around us. And he also said that, patience or panic, which one would you choose? Having a powerful state of mind is very, very important. And we can see from the teachings of Bill Gates. Last but not least, this is the most meaningful quote that from my life mentor, and that is 人穷志不穷. It means you can be poor, but you can never lose your aspirations and you can never lose yourself. Losing yourself meaning you have to be accountable to yourself and never do things that will affect your conscience in the future. This QR code will lead you to my page, and this page actually shows all the learnings I've learned from different mentors of my life. And who am I today is the making of the mentors around me. I've learned Feng Shui, geomancy, I've learned I Ching, I've learned about the very purpose of life from Taiwan Education Academy called Yuan Zhuo. I've learned a lot everything, all fundamentals and lessons courses. And this QR code, if you were to register in, I'll be able to share with you some of the past conferences and past recordings of mine, which is longer, and I have much more to share. Please join me in order to be better for our clients and our family, our loved ones. And last but not least, I would like to wish everyone and pray in my heart that I will pray that the world will become a better place for us to live in, a kinder place. And I pray that this pandemic will end and the enemy will stop seizing lives from the people that we love. And I know that the road ahead of us may be daunting, may be blurred, but this doesn't stop us. I hope that through this period, we appreciate that the fact that we are still breathing, it is already a blessing. Thank you so much for tuning in. I shall pass my time back to Ben and Matt.
So the only thing is we definitely have Jasmine still on set, and we are going to segue and move into our Q&A segment. Before we move into the Q&A segment, I've been asked by very, very high up powers from above to do a clarification. So one, I think I got the wrong brief and I apologize for that. It is not a lifetime COT qualifier, but it's a COT qualifying and life member, right? So I think naming and conventions really matter, and I apologize for that, for creating any confusion. It was entirely unintended. And for those of you who are really concerned, are we 1 meter apart in Singapore? Yes, we had our staff to really do 1 arm's length. We use a measuring tape if you are really interested. So we are entirely compliant with necessary regulations. And in Singapore, we don't like to break rules. We have about 9.5 more minutes for Q&A. So it is time for you to just fire up your questions. And while the questions are building, I picked one question that would be suitable for both Jasmine and I to open up with. And the first question is this one, which is, my clients are majority more mature. They don't use social media, right? So I think my 2 cents worth is exactly. I never once said that social media is the answer and the only answer and should be your answer, right? I only said social media is your answer only if you study that 5 legs of the chair and you study your audience and you know which platforms they are. So I want to give you a very simple example. Like, for example, Porsche doesn't run Facebook ads. And how do I know? Because I train Porsche. Porsche is my client when I train senior executives over there to do public speaking and presentation skills. And I say, hey, what's your mass market strategy? Right? One of them, I still remember, told me that, Ben, we do not have mass market. We only have high-end market. And that's why they never put their content or their advertisements on Facebook, right? Because again, I'm not saying that Facebook people are poor, right? There could be high income, but they're channeling the money and income where the customers are at, what kind of platforms they are on. So to this person who asked this question, entirely right. You do not need to be on social media if you're very, very crystal clear that your customers are not spending a lot of time there as well. So it's a chicken and egg kind of thing, right? So do you know? Jasmine, anything to add?
Yes, thank you, Ben. I will agree with Ben totally. And for myself, it is very applicable. This question is very applicable. Most of my clients are in their 40s, 50s to 60s. They are not very well in touch with social media. So during my calls, my CRM will give a call to them to ask them whether are they more comfortable with telecalls or on Zoom. If they're comfortable with telecalls, I'll go ahead and call them. I wouldn't ask them to probably like spend time downloading, which will probably take days or not even happening. So I'll call them, and through updates on their portfolio, I could WhatsApp them the image. They could look at their portfolio. And when I'm talking to them, right, they can through telecalls. And I tell them that if you're not comfortable with online sale, let me put it a note at that during after circuit breaker, I'll be there to meet you and we'll do the transactions. And I have an Excel of clients who are ready for that they are ready to meet me after the circuit breaker.
Yep. I just want to add on that one more perspective, right? So again, Jasmine offers a very valuable perspective. I was on a call with 2 China experts. They're from CITIC Prudential, and they are also in the 40s and 50s. They're agency leaders over there, right? So their pitch is that they tell their senior clients to say, hey, we need to 跟着科技走，跟着科技的节奏. So in English, it really means that both of us are seniors, but that doesn't mean that we cannot learn technology. So they are also still pushing their clients to go online to do calls with them. But the pitch, the sell is that, hey, let's be open to learn new technologies. So all I'm saying is in Chinese, 不管是黑猫还是白猫，能做得到老鼠就是好猫. In English is that, there is 101 ways to skin a cat. It all depends on your pitch, right? I want to very quickly go to the second question, and I'll read it out so for Jasmine's benefit. At the young age of 21 years old, how do you come across as trustworthy to older, mature clients who are 40 years old, who've gone through more life experiences than you?
Well, if you would ask me this question, I could tell you the whole day. But let me summarize. Basically, when I was 21 years old, I had the expertise and the experience, and I'll tell them very, very honestly, yes, I just joined the industry, but if you were to give me a chance, I'll prove it to you through the years ahead. And most importantly, when they transact with you, it is not how much knowledge is important, but it's not 100%. To me, I sell my story, and people, most of my clients are ladies, at a time 90%, and these are the people that they will be able to empathize. And if they empathize with me and they are willing to give me that chance, which they did, I've proven to them that these are the years that I'm going to commit to serve them. It is definitely possible to sell your story, sell your emotions, to be able to give them the assurance that you'll be able to do it.
One small life hack and work hack, I started becoming a professional speaker and trainer as well, 21 years old. I started when I was a freshman in Singapore Management University studying accounting. I think one of the tips that really worked well for me in engaging senior people is try not to be more than who you are and try not to be not who you are, right? And what do I mean by that? I tell a senior client to say, you know, I'm not here to teach you how to run a company. My company is only 4 people. I can't teach you how to do sales because you probably sold in 7, 8, 9 figure. I can't teach you how to manage 500 staff, etc. But what I can share with you is my insights, my journey from speaking to 10 people all the way to 6,000 people, right? So people like that, right? So I am who I am, I'm as it is, right? So this helps me to engage senior clients, right? Let's go to the next question, which is, how can you reach out to high net worth clients now if they're in social media? And I think this question is interesting because it's whether pre-crisis or during the crisis, what are some ways that you think has worked out for you? Granted that you start out 4 years in street prospecting, does it get easier over time or does it get more sophisticated over time?
Okay, thank you, Ben. Basically, right, it started out as the first year. I started out talking to people, which I told you about, ladies, and 90% are ladies, and probably people who are like medium, not as fully sophisticated, and slowly challenging myself to talk to ladies and men who are in their higher management. You could tell it. You could tell when based on the questions that they ask you. As time goes, the more you pitch, the better you get. So along the second year, I taught myself to be fully talking to clients who are on a more sophisticated side. And how do I receive? And I still do receive many referrals from them through servicing. I always tell the people, tell my mentees, whether a person, whether this is a rich person, a high net worth, and ultra high net worth, they're still a human. They still need the emotions. They still need that touch in heart. For me, I don't focus on trying to make myself shine that how good I am. I focus on them. I listen to them. I find the pain in their life. It could be some of the high net worth, they achieve so much in their career, but there's something in a certain aspect of their life that may not be very good, like probably relationship with their spouse, relationship with their children. How do I come in? I've also done like calling their children to counsel them, to talk to them, to treat me as a big sister. And this is how high net worth and ultra high net worth like about you. Be a human. You do not need to prove. You just need to be sincere. And they know that through a sincere heart, you are able to serve them. And referrals come in. Of course, I provide very professional expertise like managing their portfolio, looking at their investments. And this is not very experts may not be able to do it so prompt and actively. If you're actively following up with their portfolio, together with personal touch, they will definitely refer you clients.
Yep. I think that's a great perspective. I want to sort of move into the next question, which is what are the strategies you can recommend if your target are the millennials market? I want to share one quick story and then I'll pan over to Jasmine because I think the millennials are also the nouveau rich, right? Which we call this like the 富二代 in China, which is the second gen who are wealthy. You know, and we wouldn't want to preclude that. We don't think that, you know, it's just the 40s and 50s who have the wealth. There may be the younger folks. So a quick story, in the little time I have, I was called to Hong Kong to do a training for JP Morgan. it was very interesting because to be a client of JP Morgan, you have to have investable assets of at least 30 million USD to put with them. And this 30 million is money you can put without losing sleep. And funny thing was, I was called to there in Hong Kong to train, wasn't training the employees, the staff. I wasn't training the clients. I was training the children of the clients, right? It's quite interesting perspective. So a lot of them were in the late teens, early 20s. And one of the things I realized that even for the millennials, and they are very rich, is that people at their life stage also have their own problems, right? They are equally as vulnerable. So a lot of times people think that one is like, we need to really be very atas, right? I mean, yes, you need to be respectful. You need to know what works with them. But at the end of the day, they are human as well. So when I was interacting with them, I realized that in the early 20s, they have almost the same issues when I was in my early 20s. I didn't know what to do with my life. Right? My parents wanted me to inherit a business, but they told me to go work outside, make mistakes, lose people's money, then come back. Right? But I knew what was in the pain point. Right? I knew what were their key challenges. And then I referred people in VC space, the investment space, and that is how I nurtured relationships. So I think if there's anything, 2 points, treat them as per any other clients, but be respectful and don't use the same trick. Number 2, add value to them. And I think that's a very, very key principle that I always abide to.
Yes, Ben. I think that Ben is an expert in handling the millennials, both on the social market and offline. So for myself, most of my warm market, my friends, my schoolmates, eventually became my clients as well. From that, it is the same. Whichever age that they are in, choose servicing, being genuine to them. Prefer their friends who are millennials as well. And most of them are doing well in their career as well.
Right, so we've come pretty much to the end of the Q&A section. I hope you've had a chance to get a bit more clarity on this topic. If you're not, don't worry, because Jasmine will be doing the same thing as per our 2 guests. She'll be shooting us a very short inspirational video to checkmark and sort of bookend this entire session, keep our energy going. But of course, I think Jasmine will be more than delighted to, if you have some questions, she would take a bit of time out of a busy schedule to reply to you. There are interesting questions, but I apologize, in the interest of time, we cannot handle them. Could I have the clicker, please?
Sure.
And going back to the slides, just to do a few final final minutes before I pass it back to Matt to do the closing, right? I know we've been doing so many surveys. This is the last one, I promise you, okay? Our survey is, how can Prudential further support you in virtual sales? Again, it doesn't have to be from me, from Matt, but we are trying to put together more skillful people to help you. So with that, can we bring out the survey, please? And let's take a look at the different options that we have, right? So this question will be helpful for us to realize what are your latent needs, anything that we still haven't yet uncovered. Could it be in terms of presentation scripts? Could it be in terms of like more training, in terms of virtual training? Pardon me, I can't load the screen because I am quite a tech gundu sometimes. But in any case, let's close the survey. Could our staff just read out what's number 1? All right, so this survey, very, very important. Please do spend the time. Do we have the results? And while you're sort of waiting for the results like I am, I just want to say Yvonne as well is making a Facebook Live this afternoon. Check out, okay? Yvonne is having a Facebook Live where she's demonstrating her expertise with the business owners market. Can we have the first response? I can't use the iPad. I don't know which the option to use. Right, so things do happen on set as well, so just bear with me. Right, okay, our friendly staff is running by. I still have about 5 to 6 more minutes. Number 1 response would be?
Tools.
Right, tools and trainings to improve virtual face-to-face on virtual. Okay, we'll take that into account. And I want you to also look forward to, because a lot of the insights we are doing on the regional level will be cascaded down to the local level. Again, if you haven't joined this, or it's the first time you joining us, please join this group. This group is my way of giving back. I just want to say I'm not being remunerated to do this extra work. I bring in talents and guests. I want to support you. And I hope that as you see what I'm doing, I practice what I preach, right? In this crisis, if you're able to be a consultant that goes the extra mile, all will remember you, right? So I definitely do what I have been teaching you, and this is my way of serving. Secondly, we'll design this entirely into a PDF for you to learn in a 4-page. To close my section, I would say we started off talking about how this crisis happened to us, but it doesn't have to be the case. When we start to reframe and say that this crisis happened for us, we start to see faith, we start to see empowerment, and we start to see possibilities. And in my segment of closing, before I pass it on to Matt, I want to say that if you're not willing to learn, no one can help you. But Zig Ziglar also did mention that if you're determined to learn, no one can stop you. I brought to you the best that I know, and I'm sure there may be better ones, but the best I know to give you the best insights on social media, e-appointment, and today targeting mass and high net worth market. And we have more resources, more education coming your way. But if you do not help yourself, nobody's going to be able to help you. With that, I'll pass and pan out the entire camera with Matt, and Matt will do his final closing.
Thank you both. Jasmine, good to see you again.
Hi.
Thank you for doing this for us. We really appreciate it. I have a question for you.
All right.
Two things you said that really struck me.
Okay.
One was towards the end of your presentation, you talked about how high net worth clients are humans also. We need to treat them as such. I think that applies generally to everybody we come across in life. And so I just want to highlight that one. The second thing you said that I have the question for is you said that you need to have a strong mind and a healthy body.
Mm-hmm.
When was the first time you realized that clicked for you? Can you think of the story behind strong mind and healthy body?
Yes. Thank you, Matt. So the first, you're talking about how do I, does it apply to any other individuals? It's not just the high net worth that we're talking about, but especially for the affluent market and high net worth, they may be more defensive. It's all right because they've been through a lot. And when they look at you, they want to see what you have. What do you have? Do you have something interesting? Or else you don't waste more than 1 minute of my time. You see, yeah. So the very 1 minute that you need to have with them, you have to give them the best impression. You have to give the best of you. So usually, when I talk to them, there are a lot of two types. There's two types of forms of communication. One of them is through speech, you know, and the other one is like through our actions. And how do I learn this? It's actually, I practice a neuro-linguistic program, if you're asking about that. It's pretty similar to what Ben talked about mindfulness. Is how do you control your emotions? How do you control your state of mind? And it is during tough times that if your mind is still powerful meaning you're able to envision that after this whole situation, after it ends, what is your next high? For me, I'm always looking for the next breakthrough. If you ask me, have I accomplished something in my life? I would say probably 20%. 20%, because I'm 29 this year. There's so much more for me to learn, and the world out there is huge. So for me, having a powerful mind is being able to envision yourself from plateau to peak.
That's fantastic. And you talked in your slides too about always learning.
Yes.
And so much so that you've even got the list of your learnings from mentors and the different sources, and that's pretty inspiring. Yeah. In many ways, you've just answered my second question, but I throw it back to you again, just to see if there's more you might want to say. Why do you think the strong mind is so important during tough times? What is your advice to some of our viewers on how to develop a strong mind, and why does that matter for them?
Okay, that's a very good question. For me, having a strong mind, I started being very intuitive towards what I'm thinking. Is at the age of 21, I went through a series of NLP programs, and that was the time that I envisioned myself. And how NLP helped me is that it not just helped us to envision our future, but it also helped us to get rid of some of the trauma that we had. And for me, I had a pretty tough childhood. It was so much, at the age of 21, there was still so much hatred and grudges, against people who have hurt us. Practicing our mind is not just wanting ourselves to be more powerful. It is to be vulnerable again. It is to be vulnerable again, to touch base with what happened in the past and allow yourself to forgive. This is very important. Don't move on from there. Vicious cycle will happen. More things like that will keep happening. So having yourself to forgive, and most importantly, forgiving yourself, is a form of self-love that I've talked about. And that would be probably, how do I practice it? Every morning, I like nature. I like to work out as well. This is the time whereby you really loosen yourself, and you spend 5 to 10 minutes closing your eyes, thinking about what you have and what you have not. I'd rather focus on what do I have because I would want to be appreciative. And there's so many more things we could have. But if you don't have it, life continues. And at the time, I would do meditation and count my breathing because, like I said, breathing is already a blessing. So that's how I practice and cultivate a very healthy mind.
That's a great point. And it speaks to Ben's slide too about the two paths in the woods, doesn't it? There are two mindsets you can adopt there.
Yep.
This happened to me, woe is me, very negative, experiencing the trauma, versus this happened for me. How do I go from, what did you call it? From plateau to peak, right? From one high to the next high. And it's that second path that we want everybody to develop the strong mindset around. Thanks, Jasmine. Ben, some questions for you. So this is the fourth session you've done, 4 weeks in a row. What are some of the key takeaways from each of the 4 sessions?
Matt threw me the toughest question, so I'll try to summarize if I could put a sort of a finishing thought behind each and every lesson. Right, the first session was the emergency session. How do you take business from offline to online? If you haven't watched it, please watch it. It's all about adaptability, right? Getting ourselves to realize that it's not business as usual, it's business as usual online. And that if we don't change, we don't adapt, things are not going to go the way we want to. The second session, we brought on Candice and we talk about social media. And I think social media, to me, I don't chase after vanity likes, metrics or whatever. I think it's about consistency and sowing the seeds. Brand building is not a one-day affair, 1 week affair, or even a 1 month affair, right? It's a lifetime affair. For as long as you are in business, you are responsible for your brand. You don't maintain, you don't curate it, that's your brand, right? The third one is more on the tactical nature and deployment nature, where we had Joy, super amazing, 20's do's and don'ts. We'll be sending out the resources as well. It's all about getting us to be comfortable running our business online. And of course, we talk about webinars. And I think the theme the third week is to overcome and supersede yourself, right? Not to say that, hey, this is how we used to do it. And I think there's a management saying that the most dangerous words are, that was how we always used to do it. Very, very dangerous, right? I try to push myself to do one new every month as well, right? And today, I think to sort of put the cherry on the cake, we have the very lovely Jasmine. It brings us back to ground again. I think if anything that I could share as a closer, I think it's coming back to the roots of who we are, right? So whether it's a mass market approach or a high net worth approach, I think Jasmine really alludes to the fact that just being yourself, but not being content with yourself, right? Being yourself in that you need to be comfortable in your own skin, but she is never content. So like, for example, for me, I got a speaking award where I'm the youngest certified speaking professional in Asia. After I got that, the next thing in my mind is what's next? What's next? And like Jasmine, I never thought I would arrive. The moment I think I have arrived, whether you're COT, TOT, your growth just plateaus and stops. Right? And I think that's a dangerous thing, right? So session number 4, back to the basics. How do we be ourselves, but yet constantly work on ourselves, improve ourselves?
That's a perfect summary. Last question for you, Ben.
Yep.
What are your hopes and fears for our viewers, based on everything that we've shared with them? As we give you a couple of weeks of a break, what are your hopes and fears for the folks who've tuned in?
I think the hopes are, please go back to the basics, study, do your work, know your craft. You are an insurance consultant at home in this period, but still an insurance consultant, right? So do what you're needing to. You have 300, 500, 1,500, 2,000 clients. They are all people who have entrusted their life, their livelihood, and their families with you. So you need to do it irrespective of whether it's the MCO, ECQ, or CB in Singapore, circuit breaker, I mean, right? And the second thing, I think the biggest fears would be walking away just having a lot of head knowledge, but not translating head knowledge into the 3 triangles, having the right mindset, activity, but not forgetting to take care of yourself, right? I think that's the triangle that I personally thrive on, that maintain and move through this entire crisis in such challenging times.
Fantastic, thank you. Well, thank you both.
Thank you.
Let me tell you all what is in store for the next 3 weeks. So we're going to continue this weekly webinar series. We've got 3 sessions lined up. Next week, we will have 2 guests, one from Eastspring Investments, and they will give us an economic overview and market outlook. After they give us that, after they give us the sort of their perspective on the markets, we'll hear from Mr. Tan Karhor, who would be familiar to many of you, particularly in Malaysia, where he was the chief agency officer and later the CEO. Mr. Tan will return in the second session, and he will host a panel of agency leaders from a couple of our markets to talk about how to take what we learn in the first session and apply it in the context of our everyday work. So this one is more nuts and bolts, tips and tricks on how to find opportunity in risky times. And then the third session that we have planned for you is consistent with the number one thing you just told us you need to rise to the occasion. And that is more trainings on how to do e-appointments or virtual sales. This is a pretty exciting session that we've got planned. What we have in mind is to do a series of videos, very short clips where we say like do's and don'ts. So you'll have like a really good example of best practice, and then we'll offer some commentary on how that's best practice. Then we'll follow it with, here's something that didn't go so well. So blooper, if you will, and have a chat on what went wrong and what could have gone better. And so that's what's coming 3 weeks out. So between now and then, between now and next week, when we see you with our colleagues from East Spring and Mr. Tan, I want to wish you all the best in everything that you're doing. We hope that you take the learnings from this session and the previous ones and apply it with gusto towards your work, keeping a positive spirit and that distinctly Prudential identity that we're all so proud of. Thank you, and we'll see you again next week.
And please do not forget his Captain America and Wonder Woman.
We all share the same destination. We all work together as one. In this case, there's only